So the last class, we learned about the data. In the data, first we know that data are the observed values or measured values of the variable. Variable actually is used to define the attribute of a population we consider. That variable can be divided into two main categories. One is a discrete variable or continuous variable. For the discrete variable, the measurements for the discrete variable are categories, and for the continuous variables, it is a measurable, right? They can take any value from a particular interval. But in the discrete values, they are countable, that can be measured or that can be observed or counted. It take a individual values, right? Uh, so when we are representing the measures for the continuous variable as a number line, it will be within particular interval. But in the discrete variable, it takes only the individual values, right? Within a particular interval, it cannot take any, only the endpoints it will take, but within the interval, it will not take any value. And another classifications of a variable, it is a qualitative variable or quantitative variable. When we are looking at whether it's a quantitative variable, the values are numeric, right? But for the qualitative variable, the values are categories, right? Then the measurements, when we are taking the measurements of the variable, there are four scales of measurements for the variable in the context of statistics. The very basic level of measurement is a nominal level of measurement. This nominal level of measurement, actually only the values of measurement are categories. Just we are using the labels to name it. Example, gender, gender and ethnicity of the respondents, like such kind of things are the nominal scale of measurement. So we looked at the three properties to identify whether it's a nominal or whether it's a interval or it's a ordinal or ratio. Those are comparison, difference, and the proportion or true zero. Right? For the nominal scale, these three properties are not satisfied. We cannot compare, we cannot find the meaningful difference, also we cannot find the meaningful ratio, right? So another next hierarchical, in the hierarchical order, next measurement is the ordinal scale of measurement. Here we can, the measures can be compared. We can compare, but we cannot find the meaningful difference between the two measures, right? Example, ratings in a particular competition, or we are defining some perceptions as a Likert scale, that is satisfaction level or the quality level. These kind of Likert scale measures or ratings of particular competitions we are using as educational qualifications. Those are the ordinal scales level of measurement. Here only the property comparisons we can make. The other meaningful difference or meaningful ratio we cannot get. This is also actually the labels, right? Categories. Then the third level is a interval scale level of measurement. Here the two properties those measures can satisfy. One is we can compare, the comparison is meaningful, and also we can find the difference between two measures, those also meaningful, but we cannot find the meaningful ratio. The most popular example used for the interval scale is temperature, which are measured in the Fahrenheit or Celsius. Here we can arrange in the order of magnitude for the temperature. The meaning difference also meaningful, but the ratio is not meaningful, because here in the temperature there is no true zero, right? When you are taking the Celsius measurement or in the Fahrenheit measurement, the zeros are with a different degree of temperature, right? So the zero value is not meaningful here. That means for the not meaningful means the true zero is not there. But you can find how much of deviations between the 2 points. That difference is meaningful. And also that when we are taking the Likert scale also, we can consider as an interval scale, because in the social science, when we are taking the social science, most of the measures are related to perceptions, customers' perceptions, most of the researchers, right? So to measure the perceptions, actually we are using the Likert scale. However, the Likert scales are the categories, highly satisfied or moderately satisfied, very dissatisfied, such kind of terms we are using. But when we are applying those things in the context of research, even it's an ordinal scale, but when we are providing the values as a quantitative thing, right? In the third year, you will learn it's more detail, but just we are taking the Likert scale is also how an ordinal scale, but when we are applying these things with some assumptions, there is an equal distance between 2 points. With that assumption, we are saying that the difference also meaningful. So if the comparison and the difference is meaningful, then actually it's coming with an interval scale. Right. Then the most significant measurement or most useful measurement is the ratio scale of measurement. Here the three properties, comparison, difference, and the ratio, all three are meaningful, provide the meaningful information. And also the true zero is there. When we are taking the sales, that zero indicates there is no sales. When we are taking the profit, zero profit indicates there is no profit. The number of absence we are taking as a zero. That means all the candidates are present, right? So there is a fixed meaning for zero. There is no. Right. Then again with the data, we looked at the primary data and the secondary data. Those categories are classified based on the data collection methods. If the researcher first time collects the data for the particular purpose, then that is a primary data. If we are using the data from the published documents, right? That data already collected for some other purposes. Now we are going to use those data for our purpose, then it will be a secondary data. Right? Then according to the measures, we can divide it as a continuous data or discrete data based on the nature of the variable, or quantitative data or qualitative data. How we define for the variable context, similarly you can define for the data, quantitative data or qualitative data. Then nominal data, ordinal data, interval scale data, or ratio data. Right. Then based on the time points, another major classification for data are time series data or cross-sectional data, right? If we collect the data on a particular time point, that is called cross-sectional data. And if we collect the data over a period of time, right? For the same variable, the several time points if we are collecting, then that is called as a time series data. These are the main context we learned in the last class. And this is a very basic important subject for getting the proper understanding on the forthcoming sections. These understanding are very important. Right. Now when we are taking this one, there are some exercises. So for the gender, we know that how we are measuring. To categorize whether it is a continuous discrete or whether it's a qualitative or quantitative, and to identify what type of scale of measurement we use, first you have to know that what are the measures we used to measure the variables. So gender of a respondent, that is a variable. So how we are measuring the gender? All you know how we are measuring the gender. We are measuring the gender by using the two categories, male or female. So here, these male and female measures are just labels, right? So here they don't have any numerical values, just label. So it is a discrete, because here the continuous means actually any value within a particular interval, any value it can take. But discrete, only the individual values. So the gender, male and female, there is any, within male and female, we don't have any particular value. So this is a discrete variable. Then looking at it's a qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative are labels, the measures are labels or categories. But for the quantitative, it's a numericals, numbers it will take. For gender, just labels, categories. So it is a qualitative. Then scale of measurement, looking at the gender, the male and female are the measures. We cannot compare. The comparison does not provide any meaningful information. The difference between two categories, male minus female or female minus male, does not provide any meaningful information. And the male over female students.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. Then we are looking at the number of errors. Right? This is a variable, number of errors. Then to identify it's a continuous or discrete, first we have to decide whether in a certain interval is it possible to take any value or just individual values we are taking. So how we are measuring the number of errors? We are measuring using the integers. If there is no errors, 0. If there is only one error, then 1. If there is only 2 errors, then it's 2. So in between 0 to 1 or in between 2 to 3 or 1 to 2, any value it will not take. Right? So here the values for the number of errors are getting by counting. So it continuous is not possible. So it is a discrete variable. Then whether it is qualitative or quantitative, you look at the measures are numerical values or non-numerical values. So here the number of errors we are measuring by the numbers integers. So it is a numerical values. So it is quantitative. Then scale of measurement, actually there is a true 0 is there. Right? The comparison will provide meaningful information and the difference will provide meaningful information. So the scale of measurement is ratio. Right. Then ranking of favorite foods. It is a variable. Now, when we are visiting to the hotels or restaurants, then they are providing some questionnaire and then they are asking to rank our favorite foods. right? Then we are giving this biryani, we are getting the first. Then for fried rice, then we go for the second. Similar kind of we are ranking. Which is our most favorite food, we are giving the first rank, right? Which is the very lowest favorite, then we are coming with the fifth rank or sixth rank. How many foods, we don't know how many foods are there. But anyway, we are giving first, second, third, fourth, fifth in kind of ranking we are making. So whether second, third, that is only the labels, right? There is no numerical values for those, right? So it is a discrete. First rank, second rank, third rank. Even in the competitions when we are having, we are labeling them based on their performance. Then we are label them. This person is first. This person is second. This person is third. So such kind of ranking. So there is no any in between first and second, any value is not appropriate. So it is a discrete. Then qualitative or quantitative, it's just labels, right? First, second, third, just labels. So it is a categories, then it is a qualitative. Then scale of measurement. When we are looking at the scale of measurement, how we are ranking it. The ranks are first, second, third. So we can compare, right? First is little higher than the second one. Second is higher than the third one. Similarly, within the measures, we can make comparison. I mean, the comparison is meaningful. But the difference between, what is the difference between first and second? What is the difference between second and third? That does not provide any meaningful information. And also, there is no meaningful ratio. First over two, first over second. What is the meaning with the rankings? It does not provide any meaningful information. So, only the comparison is meaningful. The other two are not meaningful. So, scales of measurement is ordinal. Right? Then, scores of an exam, 0 to 100%. So, is it continuous or discrete? Here, 0 marks, 1.5 marks, right? 75.87%, 66.23%. So, within that interval, 0 to 100, any value is possible. 0 to 100%, any value is possible. So, it is a continuous. Then, is it qualitative or quantitative? These are the numbers, right? So, numeric values. This variable measures are numericals. So, it is a quantitative. Then, scale of measurement. Here, the ratio is meaningful. And also, true zero. 0% means all the things are wrong. Right? 0% means all the things are wrong. That is a fixed. So, there is a meaningful. If there is a meaningful zero is in the measures, then definitely the ratio provide the meaningful information. Right? So, we can compare 2 times better than that student's marks or that student's performance is 2 times better than the another student's performance. Or 3 times better than another student's performance. If it's a 20% is 1 mark, one student's marks, another student's marks is 60%, then we can say that suppose student A got 20%, student B got 60%. Now we can say that 20 over 60, 1 over 3. So one's performance is 3 times better than the other student's performance. So it is a ratio scale of measurement score. Then time to memorize a list. That is also similar to score. It is a continuous. Within a particular interval, any value is possible to measuring the times. We are measuring the times in the seconds. Right? So numbers we are using. So it is a quantitative. if true zero is there, then scale of measurement is ratio. Then ratings of satisfaction, 7-point scale. It is a Likert scale type. So the continuous or discrete rating of satisfactions, that means very extreme or very high satisfaction to very lowest satisfaction. Very high satisfaction to very low satisfaction in the 7-point scale we are measuring. The midpoint denotes, that means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 is the midpoint. So in the midpoint, there is neither no satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Right? That is a nearly average thing. So in this case, all the values, here we are actually, here the values are 1 to 7. 1 is very dissatisfaction and 7 is very high satisfaction. Right? So in between 1 to 2, there is no any value. It will not take any value. We are marking one. When we are taking the qualitative or quantitative, actually here, the originally it is a qualitative. The 7-point Likert scale is a qualitative because categories we are using. Right? But in the sense of analysis, then we are considering, because when we are rating the satisfactions with the categories, so that is a qualitative. Right? When we are performing these qualitative categories, then we are considering as a quantitative thing. That is, you take later on. Now you take it as it is a qualitative because we are using the categories for rating the satisfaction, 7-point scale. Then scale of measurement, actually here you can take it as an ordinal, but whenever you are considering these as a qualitative things as a quantitative, then it goes to interval scale of measurement. But just for the first year thing, you take it as an ordinal and the qualitative, right? And then when we are coming for the third year and for the final year, then we will look at, you will learn more about this Likert scales, and then at that point time, even it is a qualitative, for analysis purpose, we are for applying the statistical concepts, we are taking it as a quantitative, right? Right. Then educational qualifications, actually we are measuring with a primary or secondary or undergraduate or graduate or postgraduate or Master of Philosophy or post philosophy of doctorate at PhD, such kind of qualifications. So categories are used to measure this educational qualification. So it is a discrete, and then no numerical values. So it is a qualitative. Then scale of measurement, we can compare whose educational qualification is high, right? Primary is a very lowest qualification, and A-level is lower than the degree. Masters is Masters is higher than the degree, and PhD is the very highest qualification. In such kind of order, we can compare. So the scale of measurement is ordinal. Then for revenue we can take it as a continuous, because when we are measuring the revenue in rupees, right? Any 2 points, suppose the lowest revenue is 10,000 and the highest revenue is 1 lakh, then 10,000 to 1 lakh, any point is possible. So it is continuous. Then actually it is a quantitative because we are using the numbers. So it is a quantitative. Then scale of measurement, true zero is there. Meaningful comparison and also meaningful difference between two values. So it is a ratio level of measurement. Right. So when you are asking to identify whether it's continuous, discrete or qualitative or quantitative, and then what type of scale of measurement, we will ask with the justification. So how I say, I justified those answers, similarly you also have to write it. So whatever answers we are providing, because statistics is not a subjective matter. It is an objective subject, right? So the most of the questions you can write with your perfect justification, right? So the justifications are very important. So whether it's a continuous or discrete, you look at how the measures of those variables. Is it whether any value within an interval is possible, or only the categories, individual values are possible. Based on, you can decide it is a continuous or discrete. Then whether it is a qualitative or quantitative, you look at the measures, whether they are in the non-numerical values or numerical values. Then for scale of measurement, you look at the measures and then look at the three properties. Comparison, whether meaningful comparison, or whether it's a meaningful difference, or whether it's a meaningful ratio or true zero. Then based on these three properties, then you can classify whether it's ordinal, whether it's nominal, or whether it's a ordinal, or whether it's a interval, or whether it's a ratio, right? Right. Now here, for read the first questions, and there are two scenarios given to you. For each and every scenario, scenarios are A and B. For each and every scenario, you have to identify the variable name, whether it's a continuous or discrete, whether it's a variable quantitative or qualitative, and state the type of measurement scale of the variable. So first one, a professor records the number of students absent during a final exam, right? For part A, first you put in the chat box the variable name. Write according to the given scenario, write a variable name in the chat box. These are the answers for the other questions. Now you have to write the variable name of the variable. After that only here you look at name the variable being measured, state whether the variable is, this is the second part, continuous or discrete, state whether the variable is quantitative or qualitative, state type of measurement scale. So according to this statement, what is the variable? Yes, number of absent students in the final exam. Or number of students absent, right? This is the correct answer. For the first part, number of absent students in the final exam. It is a variable, right? Now, based on the variable, whether it is a quantitative or what is the first part? So the name of the variable, number of absent students in the final exam. Then state whether the variable is continuous or discrete. Already here answers discrete. Please check your spellings. Now here you look at how you are writing the discrete. Spelling is entirely wrong. When you are writing those terms, especially the technical terms, the spelling is very important. Otherwise, it will take another meaning. Right? So it is a discrete variable because number of absence, we are getting these values by counting. Right? So it is a discrete variable. Then state whether the variable is quantitative or qualitative, because we are measuring with the numbers, so it is a quantitative. Then type of measurement scale, it is a, we can compare and we can get a meaningful difference then when all the students are present for the final exam, right? So it is a ratio type of measurement, right? Now take the part B part and put the answers here. First, identify the variable, name of the variable. What is the variable here we take? Read the given situation carefully, part B, and from that identify what is the variable. Variable is the attribute of the respondents, right? Variable is the attribute of the respondents, right? Here one answer we got. Employment status, yes, that's fine. The variable is the employment status of whose? That also it is better to write it, right? The employment status of a Baron subscriber, right? Employment status of Baron subscribers. So this is a particular magazine or some document. So Baron subscriber survey, right? So here employment status of Baron subscriber is a variable, right? Then according to that variable, whether it is a continuous or discrete, put in the chat box answer. Employment status is a variable, right? And put your answer whether it is a discrete variable or continuous variable. Yes, it is a discrete variable because here we are measuring this employment status as a employed full-time, employed part-time, retired, unemployed. There are 4 categories we are using to measure the employment status of Baron subscriber. So it is a discrete. And then whether it is a quantitative or qualitative, because these are the measurements of this employment status. These are the categories, right? Even when we are, the numbers are, we are using to label it. These are the labels for the employment status. So it is a qualitative variable because non-numerical values we are using, that is a qualitative variable. And whether it is a measurement scale. Is it ordinal or nominal measurement scale? Can you compare? Is a full-time better than the part-time or unemployed? Is it meaningful comparison? It is a nominal, right? Because here maybe this part-time employee may be some other very good job, right? Even unemployment homemaker or student, we cannot compare that one. Full-time is better than the part-time, right? or part-time is better than the homemaker or student, we cannot make the meaningful comparison, right? If the perfect measurements are known, then we can compare. But in this case, we cannot get a meaningful comparison. So it is a nominal scale of measurement, right? Okay. So for such kind of questions, if you want to answer perfectly, first you have to identify the appropriate variable to the given situations and what are the measures used to measure those variables. So in this case, first case, number of students, absence, right? Number of absence for the final exams or number of students absent. So here we are going to use the numerical values. We are counting 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. So after that, after deciding this variable and the measures for this variable, then clearly we can identify whether variable is continuous discrete or it is a quantitative or qualitative or what type of scale of measurement clearly we can identify. And second thing, it is a employment status. We are asking the Baron subscribers, we are asking what is your employment status? So employment status is the variable. Then how we are measuring this employment status? We are measuring with the full-time or part-time or retired or unemployed. After deciding this one, then we can go for the answer for whether it's a continuous variable or discrete variable, or it is a quantitative or qualitative variable, or it is a what is the scale of measurement, right? Right. To put the answer for this question, yes, 1005 adults, because here the Gallup organization conducted a telephone survey with a randomly selected national sample of 1005 adults who are 18 years and older. And then the survey asked the respondents, how would you describe your own physical health at this time? Then the responses were excellent, good, only fair, poor, and no opinion. So the sample size is this one, 1500. Then name the variable being measured. Now go for the B part, answer. MS21, is it variable? MS152, that is okay. Physical, status of physical health. Right? Here you write, you look at this person's answer, 18 years and older. Is it the one of these adults describing? Adults means over 18 years, actually adults. For just what is the age they are considering to indicate what is adults. That is the 18 years older. This is not a variable, right? Here clearly it mentioned which is the variable. How would you describe your own physical health at this time? So we can put it as a status of physical health. Status of physical health is the variable. How they are measuring the status of physical health? By using excellent, good, only fair, poor, and no opinion. So our variable is status of physical health. Right. Now part C. Write the answer. Whether that variable we know and how we are measuring, what is the value we are getting this variable, these are the data. Now you tell whether the data are qualitative or quantitative. It is a qualitative because we are measuring this variable using the categories. So not the numbers. So it is a qualitative, right? Whether it is a discrete data or continuous data. Write the answer. Whether it is a discrete data or continuous data. Very good. It is a discrete data. Right. Then for the next thing, whether it is a ordinal data, what is the measurement level? Is it ordinal or nominal or interval or ratio? It is the ordinal here because we can compare, right? We can compare. If we are saying, if we are rating our health status as excellent, then someone is rating as a good, then we can say that the particular person who is having the status as excellent have a very good health status comparing to the person who rating as good. If we are rating as poor, then we can say that it is very bad health status. No opinion in between fair and poor, in between, it's a no opinion. We can take it as a in between the health status fair and poor. Such kind of comparison we can make. Right. Now what is the answer for part D? Your answer for part D. Read the question clearly and write the answer. Now 1005 adults were surveyed and we have answers as excellent, good, only fair, poor and no opinion. Such kind of 1005 answers we have. Right? Now, just looking at this raw data as a 1005 answers, we can't get any information or very good insight we cannot get. So now we want to summarize these 1005 answers. We have to summarize. So to summarize those answers, whether we have to use the average or percentage, which method is best to summarize those 1500 answers? Can we use average? Average already you know the meaning, and the percentage. Both things you know the meaning. Now we check the answer. Percentage. Yes, because here we are measuring with the categories. If we are taking the numerical values, then we can use the average. But here we are using the categories. So the percentage is very good measure to summarize this data. Right. Now part E. What is the answer? You take the calculator and find out the answer and put your answer. Nearly 291. How we can get this one? 1,005 adults were surveyed. Out of these 1,005 adults, 29 percentage said their personal health is excellent. So to identify how many individuals provided these responses, 29 over 100, that should be multiplied by 1,005. It's nearly 291.45 respondents. So usually we are giving the respondents as an integer, right? So 291 or 292, both are possible, right? So there are 291 or 292 respondents provided their answer as their personal health is excellent, right? This one already how we did previous exercises. Similarly, you can practice it this exercise also. There is no much difficult in this exercise. Right. Take the part A and first you put your answer for the, there are some studies are there, 2 studies given to you. In each study, you have to identify what is population, what is sample, what is parameter, what is statistics, what is variable and data related to these studies, right? So you take part A and first describe what is the population for this study. Put your answer in the chat box. All medical doctors, right? All medical doctors are the answer. Actually here, it is better to include one more term with this definition, because they are selecting the doctors. Professional directory and determines, right? Okay. Based on this given scenario, you can write it as all doctors. Then other places or where they are registered, we don't have anything, right? So all the doctors, right? Then put it in the second one, sample. What is the sample? 500 doctors. Here actually you have to put it, right? The 500 doctors selected randomly from the professional directory, right? The 500 doctors selected randomly from the professional directory. That will be the sample, right? Now you write the parameter. What is the parameter? The first class we learned the parameter and the statistic, the population and the sample we learned in the first class, right? So actually parameter is a numerical measure. Parameter or discrete, parameter or statistic, both are numerical measures. What are the numerical measures we looked at? It may be mean or variance or standard deviation or proportion, right? Those kind of the numerical measures. Now, accordingly, identify what is the parameter to this study. Not proportion of all eligible medical doctors. No, that's wrong. This is also proportion also we cannot take it as a appropriate answer. Clearly we have to define what is the proportion we considering. That's clearly you have to define, right? So here you look at an insurance company would like to determine, the first line indicate the proportion of all medical doctors who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. This is the appropriate measure. Which proportion we are going to calculate? That indicate clearly. So from this scenario, you can identify clearly proportion of all medical doctors who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. Who are practicing the who are doing the malpractices? For those proportion we want to study. So proportion of all. This indicate the population. Right? Proportion of all medical doctors who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. That is the parameter. Right. Now statistic. Define the statistic. From the parameter definition, easily you can identify what is the appropriate statistic for that one. Only one word you have to be changed. You have to change there. Now you know, you learned that population parameter is a proportion of all medical doctors who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. Now mainly we are going to the proportion of the medical doctors who have been involved. So if we are taking all medical doctors who have been involved in one or more malpractice, that is a parameter. The proportion of eligible 500. Why you are putting the eligible 500 doctors? It's eligible is not necessary there. Right? So the proportion of 500 doctors who have been involved in malpractice lawsuits. That's enough. Right? So according to this phrase, the proportion of 500 doctors who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. Right. It is a statistic. Right. Now these answers are very good. Then variable. What is the variable? Here we considered. Right. Define the variable for this study. According to the given situation or scenario, define the variable. Write the variable. What is the variable? Here we considered. From this scenario, you can identify. You are able to identify the variable. Whose answer? Ratio. Huh? Now, how many things here I explained? Again, MS147 on your mic. MS147. Unmute your mic, please. Otherwise, if you are not unmute, then I will remove you. Please unmute your mic. MS147, please unmute your mic. So that indicates you are not here, right? So I'm going to remove you. Say at least yes or no. Right. Others, you write the answer. Variable. What is the definition of variable? Variable is the attribute of the, according to this study, attribute of the respondents. What attribute here we are measuring? You write that attribute here as a variable. If you are writing only, then I will make the discussion, right? Otherwise, I will close this exercise and move to the next section. If you want to get the answers for this one, please write your answers in the chat box. Who have been involved in one? No. If you are asking this question, who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits, what will be the answer? Now I am taking a doctor or respondent, right? And I am asking who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. What is the answer? No number of doctors, no. Now we want to find out how many doctors involved in the malpractices. So what question we can ask them? Now suppose we are taking the number of no. This is also not appropriate. Yes or no will be the answer. So how you can ask yes or no? If you want to get the yes or no answer, how we can ask? If we want to get the answer yes or no, how we can ask? Whether, put the first statement you have to put, whether the doctor have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. Whether the doctor have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. Then yes or no, yes or no. From that you can identify the proportion. Right? So what is the variable? Whether the doctor have been, or whether a doctor have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. Right. And the data, yes or no. The data values for this variable will be yes or no. Right. Now read the second thing. And first define the population for the second part B. One more thing I want to tell you. When I am asking, unmute your mic, you have to unmute. Right? If you are not unmuting, the particular student will be removed. You have to unmute and you have to say yes or no. You have to say it. Don't put in the chat box. If I am asking to unmute the mic, you have to unmute. Otherwise, you will be removed immediately. Right? This is my warning. Right. Now you put the answer for the definition for the population for the second study. Not all the electric contractors. You read carefully. Partly you answer right, but not all. Here, all is not appropriate. No. Correctly read and put 900 contractors. So how you can write the answer clearly here? 900 electric contractors who purchased wire from Rathburn annually. You have to write how you have to describe your population. 900 electric contractors who purchase wire from Rathburn annually. This is the answer for the population. Right. Now you describe the sample. Clearly define, right? Don't write it as a 35 electric contractors. You have to clearly define. 35 electric contractors randomly selected from the 900 electric contractors who purchase wire from Rathburn annually. Similarly, the clear answer, if you have got the clear answer, actually you have got the full understanding, then clearly you can describe your population and sample, because that is very important. For a study, just 900 contractors, just 35 contractors is wrong. We will not provide the marks. Who are these contractors? That is clearly you have to define. So for the sample, 35 electric contractors randomly selected from the 900 electric contractors purchase wire from Rathburn annually. If you write in such manner, then only you can get the marks. Otherwise, you will not get the marks. Right? Because if you have, because the population, sample, parameter, and the statistic are the basic things. So clearly, if you are able to identify, then only you can follow the other things. Otherwise, always it will be a problem. So the definition of population for the particular study, the definition of sample for the particular study are very important. The clear definition for the particular population or parameter for the particular study you have to give. So accordingly, the population is 900 electrons annually. From the given scenario, you have to identify clearly. Then for the sample, here we are selecting the 35. So 35 electric contractors randomly selected from the 900 electric contractors purchase wire from Rathburn annually. If you define such manner, then only you can get the marks. Otherwise, if you are writing as a 900 electric contractors, 35 electric contractors, then you will not get the marks. Right? Clear accordingly, the given scenario, clear definition you have to give. Right. Now, write parameter. What is the parameter for this study? Write the parameter for this study. From where you can get the idea, the last 2, 3 or 4 statements. He developed a questionnaire. From that up to full stop, if you read carefully, then you can define the parameter. Right now, we got one answer, we check it. No, here is proportion is not a parameter. Read carefully. From the given scenario, you have to identify. Here they mention the parameter. You can find out. For the first part, okay, proportion is right. They mentioned their proportion. But here the proportion is not a parameter. Mainly the last statement. You can identify what will be the parameter. From the last statement given there, from that you can identify what will be the parameter for the study. You can guess it. First, identify what is the numerical measure they are considering here in this situation. What is the numerical measure they are considering? To get that idea, read the last statement and then identify it. Then define that one for the population. First, you put the answer. We got one answer. Check it. Satisfaction score between 10 to 50. No. Is it a... That satisfaction score is the variable measure. Is it a parameter? No, that's wrong. Right. Now, I will give another clue. from the last statement, what is the numerical measure as a parameter or numerical statistic or numerical measure we considered here? Satisfaction scores are the data values. Average, very good. That is the average is the numerical measure he considered to summarize those data, right? Now, based on this average measure, now define the population parameter. Now, use this average measure to define the population parameter. Now, you define it. Now, using this average or mean, then define your population parameter. Now, here we define, in the first case, we define the parameter as a proportion of all medical doctors who have been involved in one or more malpractice lawsuits. Similarly, in this case, instead of proportion, we had a mean. And then link with a given problem. Mean of what? Mean of what? We calculated as a population parameter. Average satisfaction score of 900 electric contractors who purchase wire from Rathbone Company. That's very good answer. This is the perfect answer, right? Instead of average, you can use the mean also, you can use, right? So, mean satisfaction score of 900 electric contractors who purchase wire from Rathbone. Similarly, this is a, which one? This is for the, right, I don't know whether this person write for the parameter or some other thing. MS09, I don't think this person answer is wrong. MS73 answers is perfect, right? Right. Now you define the statistic. Define statistic. Very good. 73. Same answer. Average satisfaction score of 35 electric contractors who purchase wire from Rathbone Company. It's the perfect answer. Right? So here we are calculating. For the statistic, we have to connect with the sample. For the parameter, we have to connect with the population. So to identify what parameter or numerical measure we use, whether it's average or proportion or median or variance or standard deviation, that's the thing. You have to get it from the given scenario. Then after identifying that numerical measure, then you have to connect with the population for parameter and connect with the sample or link with the sample for the statistic. That's fine. Now, the next part, variable. Define the variable. Connect the variable. Actually, you can identify the variable with this statement. Rathbun's director of marketing wants to determine electric contractor satisfaction with Rathbun's wire. Variable is a attribute of the respondent. What is the attribute? We are measuring with the respondent. Here, what we are looking for. Contractors, which thing we are looking for? Attribute or perception we are looking for. According that statement, from this statement, mostly you can get it. Rathbun's director of marketing wants to determine electric contractor satisfactions with Rathbun's wire. From this, you can get the idea of defining the variable. Please write the answer. Here, what we are measuring? We are measuring a satisfaction. Right? Satisfactions of the respondents for a Rathbun's wire. So here you can write your variable, or you can define the variables as a score of satisfaction. So what is the score of satisfactions with Rathbun's wire? Contractor satisfaction. Or you can just write it as a score of contractors or level of satisfaction. Or just satisfaction of contractor with Rathbun's wire. Satisfaction of contractor with Rathbun's wire. Or what is the satisfaction of contractor with Rathbun's wire? Then they put it as a 10 marks, 10 points or 15 points or 50 points. Within 10 to 50, any point is possible. Right? So, score of contractors, sorry, not score, contractor's satisfaction with Rathbun's wire. That's enough. Then data will be 10 or 11 or 50 or 45. Within that, the data will come. Right? Okay. So, any clarification you want to get it from me regarding this chapter? If you have any doubts, then put in the chat box. Otherwise, we move to the next chapter. Any doubts if you want to clarify, then you can put in the chat box. Right. So now we will go for the next part, next chapter. Right. Is my screen is visible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. So now we are going to the next important section, descriptive statistics, because already we learned that our statistics as a field, we can classify or we can categorize in the two major classifications. One is a descriptive statistics and the other one is a inferential statistics. So now we are going to take the major first classification, descriptive statistics. This is very important for summarizing the data collected and also get the insights from the data, right? Because those insights very helpful to make decisions, to support decisions. These insights are very important. So in the descriptive statistics, another two major classifications we can make. One is a graphical descriptive statistics, other one is a numerical descriptive statistics. So first we are going for the graphical descriptive statistics. So here we are using the tables and the diagrams and the graphs to summarize the data, and from those diagrams and the graphs, what are the insights we can get it. Right? Okay. So what are the contents or what are the sections we are going to cover under this graphical methods? We are going to look at the how we can summarize the qualitative data, how we can summarize the quantitative data, and how we can do the exploratory data analysis, and how we can create cross-tabulation and scatter diagrams. So these are the contents we are going to cover under tabular and graphical methods. So the learning outcomes we defined as at the end of the session, you will be able to organize the raw data. Raw data means the data as it's collected without any manipulations. What are the data we collected? When we are looking at those data, we consider it as a raw data. So organize the raw data into a frequency distribution. It is already you learned in your O-level mathematics and also very simple form. Then we look at how we can present a frequency distribution into graphic forms, right? Then from those things, how we can interpret the shape, center, spread of univariate data or data distribution. Univariate data means only one variable at a time we are considering, presented in a graph. Then you will be able to select an appropriate graphical descriptive statistical methods to describe a data set. According to the given data set, then you will be able to decide what method is appropriate to summarize or to present the data. Then when we are presenting the graphs, we have to look at some rules. So at the end of the session, you will be able to list the rules for presenting the graphs. And also you will be identify the methods in which graphs may be mispresent a distribution. These are the main learning outcomes. You will be expected to achieve these learning outcomes at the end of the session, and also these learning outcomes will be considered as evaluation points for your assessments or for your final examination. Introduction part. Now already we learned that the data are the raw material for the statistics. Right? So after collecting the data, if we consider as it's a raw data, then we can't get anything, any important insights we cannot get. Only itself reveals a very little. That information actually does not provide any important information or facts. So, if we want to find out the important informations or facts from the raw data, we have to organize those raw data in some meaningful manner. From that, we are able to get meaningful information at a glance, at a one look. When we are choosing the methods to summarize or to present the raw data in a graphical form or in a tabular form, when we are looking at that graph or when we are looking at that table, immediately we have to able to grasp the information. In such sufficient method, you have to choose to present your data. So mainly why we are learning or this learning these methods, because we have to determine the significance of the collected raw data. The data must be organized and presented into some form so that at a mere glance, it's able to get an idea of what the data can tell. Right? So, for this purpose, we are discussing how the raw data can be organized into a frequency distribution and present it using the graphic forms. So first we are looking at the qualitative data, right? So if the collected data are in the qualitative form, then how we can summarize or present those qualitative data. The 5 methods we are going to learn to summarize the qualitative data. One is the frequency distribution, then relative frequency distribution or percent frequency distribution, then the bar graph and the pie chart. Here, one variable at a time we want to summarize. Frequency, relative frequency or percent frequency, then the bar graph and the pie chart. All these things you learned in the O-level mathematics. Right. Now, what is a frequency distribution? Just frequency distribution indicate the values taken by the variable. So, for each and every variable name. So, what are the measurements we are taking those variables? So, that values are presented in the table with the non-overlapping classes, right? So, that means the 2 categories does not occur at the same time. These 2 categories are disjoint, not a jointed. Non-overlapping means 2 categories are disjointed. Now, we say that gender. What are the categories we are taking to measure the gender? Male and female. These 2 classes are non-overlapping classes. Because one time it will be a male or it will be a female. Either no male or female, right? So, such kind of non-overlapping classes we have to take to measure the variables. So, in the first column, actually in the table, as a frequency distributions, it have 2 columns or 3 columns. Within that first column, it will be the values or non-overlapping categories of the variable. And the second column, how many times frequency. Frequency means how many times each and every non-overlapping class occurred in the data set. How many times each non-overlapping class occurred at the raw data. So now you look at how we define a frequency distribution. A frequency distribution is a tabular summary of data showing the frequency or number of items in each of several non-overlapping classes. What is the purpose of organizing the data into a frequency distributions? It provides the insights about the data that cannot be quickly obtained by looking only at the original data. Original data means raw data. So when we are looking at this table, then we can say that how many times each and every category occurred. which category occurred mostly. These kind of insights we can get quickly by looking at this table. What is the what is the lowest category occurred in the raw data? Quickly we can summarize. Rather than looking at the original data, if we summarize those data with such kind of table, then quickly we can grasp this data information, right? Now example, we are looking at this example. Here we are considering the guest staying at Marada Inn were asked to rate the quality of their accommodations. Here we are looking at the quality of accommodations. We want to get comments on the quality of Marada Inn accommodations from the guest. Then we are rating this quality as excellent, above average, average, below average, or poor. So the ratings are provided by sample of 20 guests are given below. Right. Now, what is the first thing? You have to identify the variable from this given scenario. What is the variable for this study we considered? Put in the chat box. These are the raw data, right? 20. These are the responses of the 20 guests, right? Now, what is the variable for this study we considered? Write in the chat box. Now, such kind of so many examples we learned in the first previous discussion class, right? So accordingly identify. Here you can clearly get it. What is the quality of the accommodation? Or you can write the quality of the accommodation of Marada Inn. Quality of the, so the how we are defining the variable, quality of the rate is not variable, right? Here, what is the quality of the accommodation? Okay. Otherwise, if you want to write it the statement form, the quality of the accommodation of Marada Inn. Quality of the accommodation of Marada Inn. Right. That is your variable. Right. Whether this variable is a qualitative variable or quantitative variable. Write the answer in the chat box. Whether the variable is qualitative or quantitative. It's a qualitative, right? Very good. Whether it's a discrete or continuous. Discrete, right? That also fine because it's a non-numerical values. So it is a, individual values it takes. So it is a discrete. What is the level of measurement or scale of measurement? What is the scale of measurement for this variable? Ordinal. Excellent. It is a ordinal scale of measurement. Right. Right. Now, these are the main facts you have to know to basically select ranking. And now we will look at how we are going to organize this data into a frequency distribution, right? So now here, these are the ratings. These are the data, right? This is the data set for the to identify the quality of the accommodation of provided by the Marada Inn. So now here we are formulating our frequency distribution. Here quality of Merida in, here tally marks, here frequency. This is the method of formulating your frequency distribution. So what are the measures we consider for the quality of Merida in? Poor to excellent, right? So poor, below average, average, above average, excellent. These are the measures we consider to measure the quality of Merida in. And this table we prepared, and then this is the frequency distribution for the quality of Merida in. Poor, now here below average, we put a tally mark here, and then next observation is average, so we put the tally mark here, and above average, we put the tally mark here. Similarly, all the tally marks you have to mark. When the 4 vertical lines came, after that you have to, for the 5th, you have to put the cross line. Right? Then for the 6th observation, again you start with the vertical lines. If the 10th observation, then you have to cross out the second group. Similarly, you have to form the tally marks. Then we count how many tallies are there. So here 2 tallies, here 3 tallies, here 5 tallies, here 9 tallies, here 1 tally, total 20. So because we got the responses from the 20 guests, then we got this one, right? What is the insight we can get from this frequency distribution? Just presenting is not enough. Then we have to give some insights from the quality of the Merida in. Right. Now put in the chat box what about the quality of Merida in? Or what are the insights you get from those frequency distribution? Put your comments on the chat box. Whether their quality is a low level quality or high level quality, how many percentage of the respondents are satisfying with their quality, such kind of information. What are the things? Because this is person to person will change, right? There is no, anyway, the more, what are the maximum insights we can get from this table, that those insights should be the useful to make the decision. To make the quality of the Merida in, your insights are very important. From that, we have to deduce what about their quality of Merida in, whether they have to improve their quality or whether they have to okay with their quality, such kind of thing we have to get it from your insights. Now, accordingly, what are the insights you can derive from this frequency distribution? Put in the chat box. Based on these 20 respondents, what about your opinion regarding the quality of the accommodations provided by the Merida Inn? At least minimum 2 insights you give it here. Merida Inn accommodation quality is above average. How MS9, right? How did you decide this is above average? Write your answer in the chat box. How did you decide it is above average? Overall, we can't say that. Overall, we can't say that this is the above average. Frequently distribution is more, you look at only 10 people. Out of 20, only 10 respondents or 10 guests rated as above average. 9 plus 1, only 10. Only 50% of the respondents rated as above average, while 9, 10, 15. So 15 means 75%. 75% of the respondents are rated as average and above, average and over and above average. Because here 5% of the people are rated as average. Only 75% of the respondents rated as average or above average. Right? But anyway, 25% of the respondents are rated below average. 25% poor or below average, 25%. So overall, we cannot make their quality, their accommodation is quality. Right? If it's 80% of the percent or 90% then rated, it is we can say overall they rated as quality is very good or excellent. But here only 50% of the guests rated their quality of Marada Inn as above average. How do you say 82% of respondents said Marada Inn is above average? It is 45%. In such kind of you have to put, right? 45% of the respondents said Marada Inn is above average quality. While even this 25% of the respondents said the average is below. 25% of the respondents said Marada Inn's quality is below average. Right? So overall, we can't say that the Marada Inn accommodation is very good. We can't say that. Right? Such kind of information you have to give it. Okay. So when we are looking at the quality of the accommodation, we cannot say the quality is above average. We can say that average their quality. The quality of accommodation is average. We can say that overall the quality of accommodation is average level because 75% rated as average and above average. While the 25% respondents are not satisfied with their accommodation. 25% of the persons are not satisfied. The quality of percentage are not satisfied with their accommodation. Such kind of information you have to give it. Right. Now, up to this, I'm stop my lectures. Then next week, I will inform the time and day. Then we will continue the rest of the sections. Right. So before coming to the next class, again, you revise chapter 1 and what are the things we learned up to in the graphical methods. Then we will move on it. Right. So once we completed these sections, then we will make some discussions on the past paper questions. So I will put the past paper questions, then you have to come with the answers and you have to write the answers in the chat box. Then only I will make the discussion. Otherwise, I will not make any discussions. Then any comments regarding today's sessions or any doubts regarding the today's sessions? You put it in the chat box, then otherwise we can leave the meeting. So, okay, I am going to end the meeting. So the next class we will see.